Astronomers have discovered a new comet. It's out beyond Jupiter's orbit now, but it's heading for a close encounter with the Sun in 2013.
Its official name is C2012S1 ISON, but we've heard some astronomers call it just plain Comet ISON for the International Scientific Optical Network in Russia, where scientists discovered it. Its orbital characteristics indicate it might become a very bright object in Earth's sky beginning in November of 2013.
Comets have a mystique. Once considered omens of doom, they're now known as icy visitors from the outer solar system that sweep near our Sun, then disappear again into the depths of space. People get excited about comets. This comet will be no exception.
In November of 2013, Comet ISON will pass less than 1.8 million kilometers, about 1.1 million miles from the surface of the Sun. That sounds like a lot, but it's actually very close, over 100 times closer to the Sun than Earth is. Unless its close sweep near the Sun breaks the comet into pieces, the terrific heating might turn Comet ISON into a very bright object in our sky. We'll see what happens in 2013.
Black smoke. Look for Cardinal Angelo Scola to come out on that balcony.
New elected Pope represent devotion, the love of God, the love of peace, a holy modesty, and he represents a new continent which is now awakening.
The promise to His Holy Church until we will hear the voice of the angel of the apocalypse proclaiming.
Night, an angelic vision at sunset on this night of the papal election. We had more than a few viewers write in saying that they spotted this cloud and they say it resembles an angel.
Well, it looks and sounds like something out of the future, but a new palm scanning device will help Bossier Parish schools keep better track of what children are eating there. The electronic device will be implemented at all Bossier Parish schools. Workers are currently being trained on how to use it. A small infrared camera is used to scan a child's hand. And because palm and fingerprints are unique, the system can keep track of everything students eat and even what they're not supposed to eat. The new system also allows parents to add money to their child's account in real time using a credit or debit card.
It also improves accuracy as well as security, because in some cases a student might obtain another student's ID and swipe it and actually take money off of their card. This prevents that with a swipe of a hand.
Hey, I'm Kinga Phillips and this is Google Current. Searches are up for Baja Beach Club this week, a nightclub in Barcelona. Now the place looks like a good time, but people all over the world don't start searching for a nightclub unless it's doing something freaky. And it is. The club began injecting ID chips into its VIP guests 2 years ago. Right-sized chips allow VIPs to skip the whole velvet rope routine, get into the swanky VIP areas, and charge drinks automatically. Sort of like starting a tab in your arm.
Cyprus is on the brink of going bust. The rest of Europe has agreed to a bailout, but only if Cyprus raids people's bank accounts.
The banks have reopened in Cyprus, allowing access to savings for the first time in almost 2 weeks. The limits are set to prevent a bank run.
I'm Michelle Caruso Cabrera. I'm live in Cyprus, and welcome back to CNBC. Take a look over my shoulder. What you see is a line at an ATM. Right now it's about 10 deep.
Παρακολουθούμε πλάνα έξω από την Βουλή των Αντιπροσώπων. Ό,τι βλέπουμε, αυτό συμβαίνει αυτή τη στιγμή.
I want to talk more about what's going on in Cyprus. Europe is basically telling that small island country, if you want to get bailed out, everybody with money in a bank has got to pay up. A tax on bank deposits. Could the same thing happen here? All right, Judge Andrew Napolitano is here in New York with us. Let's go with the big issue first of all. Right. Could it happen here? Could Congress pass a law and the president sign it that says your bank account is going to be taxed 5% or whatever? They could do that, couldn't they?
Yes, they could.
Nothing to stop them.
Yes, they could.
Appealing for more than $41 million to eliminate a severe plague of locusts in Madagascar. Half of the money is needed by June to try to save the country's crop production.
Whether you're on a downtown stroll, eating lunch outside, or playing golf, this summer you have a new friend to look out for, the state considered by many to have the most bugs, is about to get a new tenant. A mosquito 20 times the size of the one you're used to that feeds day and night and has a sting some say feels like a poke from a knife.
Oh, this thing is like a pterodactyl in the mosquito world. It's huge. Terrifying moments on the Garden State Parkway when a 4-foot sinkhole opened in the middle of the road, causing more than a dozen wrecks.
Well, Merritt, is still no sign of that 36-year-old here on Faithway Drive, and unfortunately, according to family members, the faith here is really starting to dwindle and take inside the home. She was very distraught and did not want to appear on camera. She says she cannot get the screams out of her head.
In Florida, and that enormous sinkhole that's already eaten up part of one house and is threatening two more. One man dead after being swallowed by it.
Gangubai has been walking a tough path for the past 2 years. Her fields are empty and barren when they should be lush and green.
Rio de Janeiro, known for its signature statue as well as its exotic wildlife. Now there's something fishy in Rio.
Aftershocks jolted central Taiwan in the hours after a strong mid-morning earthquake killed one person and injured at least 19 others.
It's a pretty unpleasant scene. We've been today about 70 kilometers outside of Shanghai to the upper reaches of the Huangpu River, which is the big river that flows through the city centre in Shanghai. And since last Thursday, locals have been finding large numbers of dead pigs floating in their waters. Death toll this evening is about 3,300.
Well, a massive volcano in Ecuador erupted on Sunday, spewing ash and more into the air. Now, yesterday marked the second day that the volcano had become more active. The Obama administration has announced plans to give spy agencies full access to people's finances. Right now, the FBI has access to such databases, but now the plan is to give the CIA and NSA full rights to Americans' financial records.
My last question is, the Department of Homeland Security recently bought 1.6 billion bullets, 7,000 rifles, and riot gear. Why does Homeland Security need these weapons of war against the people?
They have no answer for that question.
Top story headline: Feinstein's doomed gun bill squeaks by Senate committee. The draconian bill designating an entire classification of firearms illegal squeaked by on a 10-8 vote. If enacted, the law proposes to ban so-called high-capacity magazines and also semi-automatic weapons that the government deems to be illegal.
Action from the Attorney General now, Eric Holder, moments ago on the use of drones inside the United States.
This is a drone flying in a controlled space. And this is what a drone sees as it flies down a street near you. There is little doubt that unmanned aerial vehicle systems are here to stay.
So they basically become cheap and easy and potentially ubiquitous.
Generally under 25 pounds, drones will soon monitor hurricanes, deliver targeted pesticide applications, and check miles of oil pipeline in a day. But under what rules will they fly? And is your privacy adequately protected?
When we're talking about privacy, we need to make sure that we're talking about the bigger picture of privacy. You know, there are cameras that are mounted on buildings that are stationary. So again, when we talk about privacy, we need to not single out unmanned aircraft.
With low cost and ease of use, drones are attractive to police departments for aerial intelligence gathering. They can fly with high-powered cameras, microphones, and even infrared systems that see in the dark. With all this technology, lawyers suggest that Americans may soon be subject to increasing levels of invasive surveillance.
It's going to open up parts of their lives that they previously thought were private, not only on an individual level,
like I'm going to the store or I'm going to work today, but allow law enforcement and government to really put those pieces together and to do persistent tracking at a level that we previously just weren't aware of.
At present, police departments can operate drones only with FAA permission. But this hasn't stopped the growing concern that police may abuse the technology. And now, because of public backlash, the industry fears it may be grounded.
They're really no different than manned platforms. When you're talking about public safety use, police have been using helicopters for years.
Some fear law enforcement may be able to combine your Facebook page, Google information, along with drone surveillance and create a 360-degree look at your life. The industry counters that weight limitations will make such persistent aerial surveillance impossible. FAA rules governing drones are required by September 2015, but the agency is behind schedule and probably won't make the deadline. Even still, analysts predict there will be some 7,000 drones in commercial airspace by the end of the decade.
Boy, did I hear a load of bull crap on the radio just now. They started mentioning about the concerns about drone use on American soil. I'm like, oh, they're actually going to talk about that? But you know what they just spent time talking about? Oh, how there's no regulations on it. Okay, you know, that concerns me about the federal government or any type of government abusing it. But no, they go on to talk about how gangs and criminals can use the drones for like criminal activity. That's the concern of drones used in America, is that anybody other than law enforcement can use them? What a bunch of bull crap. Oh man, so I guess whatever the sheep are willing to believe. Absolutely stupid.
And they had breastplates, as if it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was the sound of chariots, of many horses running to battle. Revelation 9:9. And on their heads they wore something like gold crowns, and they had human faces. Revelation 9:7. It certainly is interesting that in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, final book foretelling the conclusion of the human experiment, it seems to forecast a robotic war, an army of robotic soldiers and drones that the Antichrist and the Illuminati ruling elite use to wage war against those who dare resist and who don't accept the mark of the beast. This isn't just a scenario out of a science fiction movie like The Terminator. The United States is planning a huge robotic army of synthetic humanoid soldiers that will follow any order given, that will roam the skies, the seas, and the earth, hunting the resistance brotherhood and those who don't go along with the Luciferian system. DARPA is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to develop a robotic drone army, ranging from seagull drones to tiny insect drones that could hover into your house and land on the wall. A literal fly on the wall, being able to see and hear what you're doing from within your own home. The rise of the drones have just begun. The technology has not been perfected. But what does the future hold with the Orwellian drones hovering over every city in America, watching, listening, scanning people with facial recognition scanners, capable of zooming in on an object the size of a candy bar from miles in the sky? What's going to happen when the internet becomes self-aware? What's going to happen when the singularity hits and the artificial intelligent system can reach through and control all electronic devices remotely? What's going to happen when the very computer systems that we create become more intelligent than the human race combined? Are we creating gods? Many transhumanists believe that we are going to create God and hope and dream that it will serve them. But will it turn and destroy us all? Is mankind meddling with a power that we cannot control? Is it already too late? The days ahead will tell, as the Orwellian nightmare continues to unfold, and the preparations for the Illuminati Antichrist continue to be made. The infrastructure is almost in place. The technology has exceeded our humanity, and the end may be here.
After the warm greetings at the start of President Obama's Middle East trip, the tough talking on Iran and its alleged nuclear ambitions, there has been a swift response from Iran with the threat of military action.
There is troubling news out of Iran. That country's media suggesting it's closer than ever to going nuclear. There is breaking news now from the war in Syria, and this could be significant. Reports that chemical weapons have been used in that conflict. All right, reports of North Korea now. Nuclear threats out of North Korea targeting the U.S., saying it has placed long-range missiles into combat mode aimed at numerous Western targets.
New threats of nuclear attacks are rumbling out of North Korea again today, aimed directly at the U.S., and the Pentagon is responding.
This news confirming that 2 American B-2 bombers, like the ones shown here, were sent on a round-trip training mission from its base in Missouri to an island off South Korea and carried out a training run on a bombing range off the coast there. The news comes only days after North Korea threatened to launch a nuclear strike against the U.S. and South Korea.
Almost hysterical North Korean troops greeted their leader, Kim Jong-un, during his made-for-TV inspection tour of military border facilities.
A battle is waging across the internet. A Geneva-based non-profit spam filtering organization says it's under the worst ever cyber attack. So strong, it's slowing down internet access globally.
President Obama this week signed into law a bill that could have huge consequences on the future of food in the country. The Agricultural Appropriations Bill has been dubbed the Monsanto Protection Act.
And in the big finish tonight, brand new evidence that life on Earth may have come from outer space. Ooh, the faith-based community is swirling on this one tonight. They're not going to like it.
There were some bright lights in the skies over Florida hours before dawn. Strange aircraft whipping through the treetops and buzzing houses. This is file video. Because actually nobody caught a picture of this whole thing while it was actually happening, but try to imagine. Folks say they were roused out of bed and wondered, could it be visitors from another planet?
Hey, there's an incredible sight in the sky, and you can see it beginning tonight. A rare comet makes its debut in the northern hemisphere, visible to the naked eye. It will give you the best view you could have in years. In fact, some astronomers are calling 2013 the year of the comet.
We now turn to health news tonight. New and extremely dangerous super germs that are showing up in hospitals across this country, other healthcare facilities, prompting some strong and alarming language from the CDC. We get our report tonight from our chief medical editor, Dr. Nancy Snyder.
It's a silent threat lurking inside our nation's hospitals, a deadly class of superbugs that's nearly impossible to treat.
It's resistant to virtually all antibiotics. Sectarian violence has continued in Pakistan, where crowds ransacked and torched a Christian neighborhood in the eastern city of Lahore.
It's happening again. A big space rock the size of a city block is expected to head our way next hour. But don't worry, because there's no danger of it hitting us.
Okay, folks, the Lord told us that there would be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And considering the size of this comet and the brightness of this comet, I do believe that we could consider this as a sign. And if we take into consideration the actual ancient Hebrew definitions of these constellations through the Mazaral, and we apply them to this path, there is a message there for us from the Lord above. And I just want to read that message to you. It says, "The seed of the woman, the lion of the tribe of Judah, who shall punish the enemy, will redeem his atoning work through conflict with the enemy who assaults man's heel. His mightiness will reign victorious as he bruises his heel, casting down the dragon and trotting him under his foot, and rededicating the temple of God." What a beautiful message that is, folks. What a beautiful message that is. The red area that you see where there's the red lines kind of emanating out, this is the location of the comet. You see that it moves across Leo. This is all within the month of October. It actually comes in pretty close proximity here with Mars too. I'm going to back it up here just for a few. See, it's almost like it goes right over top of Mars. And there's also some people out there that are talking about the fact that it will come so close to Mars.
There is a small but non-negligible chance that Comet 2013A1 will strike Mars next year, in October of 2014, says Don Yeomans of NASA's Near-Earth Object Program at JPL. Current solutions put the odds of impact at 1 in 2,000. The nucleus of the comet is probably 1 to 3 kilometers in diameter, and it is coming in fast, around 56 kilometers per second, 125,000 miles per hour. If it does hit Mars, it would deliver as much energy as 35 million megatons of TNT, estimates Yeomans. Researchers will be keenly interested to see how the comet's atmosphere interacts with the atmosphere of Mars. For one thing, there could be a meteor shower. Another possibility is Martian auroras. Unlike Earth, which has a global magnetic field that wraps around our entire planet, Mars is only magnetized in patches. Here and there, magnetic umbrellas sprout out of the ground, creating a crazy quilt of magnetic poles concentrated mainly in the southern hemisphere. Ionized gases hitting the top of the Martian atmosphere could spark auroras in the canopies of the magnetic umbrellas.
And it passes over Mars, and it also passes over this brightest star here of Leo. It's called Regulus. Let's continue to move forth. Now we're up into the month of November, and it begins to go through Virgo. As it continues to travel on, I want to back it up here one more day because November the 27th also is the beginning day of Hanukkah. So we also want to kind of keep in mind that this comet is coming in and taking place during a specific time of year. That specific time of year being Hanukkah. Now the Hanukkah celebration actually is about the rededication of the temple. Moves out of Libra here. Into the claw of Scorpio. Into serpents here. Hercules and Draco. And I believe it's after this point, after it moves out of here, is when it will no longer be visible to the naked eye. So we're going to back this back up to October the 5th. And I want want to go through these things with you, each constellation now, and tell you the meaning of each of these according to the ancient Hebrew Mazarah. As it moves on into Leo, the meaning of the constellation Leo is the lion of the tribe of Judah punishing the enemy. Moves on down into Virgo. The meaning of the constellation Virgo is the woman with the branch, or the coming seed. Then it moves into the constellation Libra. Libra means the scales of redeeming, the Redeemer's atoning work. And it goes into the claws of Scorpio. Scorpio means the conflict of the Messiah. It moves up into Serpents, and Serpents means the enemy assaulting the man's heel. Moves across the arm there of Hercules. Hercules means the mighty man victorious who bruises his foot on the head of the dragon. And then it moves into the dragon, Draco. And the meaning of this constellation is the dragon cast down, the enemy trodden underfoot.
Okay, now I have my computer set up on Comet ISON. This is November 24, 2013, according to my computer. Looking from Mobile, Alabama. This comet is going to be extremely bright. It could be the brightest comet in the history of the world. We don't know, but a lot of people are predicting that. It's a sun grazer. And so I'm going to click a day ahead, and you'll notice that the sun is moving into Scorpio. Here's the Scorpion, right here. And it's moving into Scorpio, which represents Satan, and it swings around like that. Look how bright it is. And comes on up into these signs up here, Orpheus, Serpens, into Hercules. And so what we're looking at is this. It started, I'm going to go backwards. It started over here in Libra. See it swinging around again? I'm going backwards. And Libra has to do with judgment and being weighed in the scales and found wanting and deficient. So Satan is fixing to be judged, punished. He'll be defeated. There'll be war, though. And all these constellations that it's in depict the war with Satan and his ultimate demise and defeat. When I first saw that, I got excited because I remembered in Revelation 12 here where it says this. Now, this is John the Revelator looking in heaven. He says, now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head was a garment of 12 stars. And she was with child, and she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And so in the other teaching that I have on our website, named the Zodiac Code, I go into and I show you the animation of when did this happen. And it shows you the woman with the sun, clothed with the sun, and the moon at her feet, Rosh Hashanah 3 BC, and sometime after that, around that time, Jesus would have been born. And so I show you that. Well, whenever in this same chapter, when I seen what I saw here in Scorpio, knowing the scorpion represents Satan, and all these other constellations from Orpheus and Serpens and Draco, Hercules and Draco, all those to speak of his demise, I immediately thought of Revelation 12, the same chapter here. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. But they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And then in verse 12 of Revelation 12, it says, therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, because he knows that he has a short time. And so these were the thoughts that came to me. So this comment seems to be pointing out the fact of this conflict and this war with Satan, and his ultimate demise. And so these are all biblical things that we know are coming anyway. And the fact that ISON is so visible and could very well be the most bright comet in the history of the world, there's got to be a meaning to it. And my understanding is, look at the constellations it goes through. It's pointing to something, especially where's the sun. And since the woman was clothed with the sun, now you see Scorpio clothed with the sun, and the comet going in, swinging around. You can see how bright it's looking as it swings, and out it goes. And they think that, in fact, the latest results that I have, that my computer does not have at this time, shows Comet ISON brighter than they thought it would be, according to some of these observatories I'm reading behind. But we still have to wait and see just how bright will it be. We know it's going to be very spectacular, but it could be even beyond that. My guess is it's going to be very spectacular. So I wanted to give you an update about it because I'm thinking that this is what God's trying to say, that the time is coming soon for this great move of God, great outpouring of the Holy Spirit, and a time of conflict and struggle on the earth has come for the Christians. And the meaning of them, and then there's if you haven't read it, you need to get a book called The Harbinger, or watch a movie called Isaiah 9:10 and see some of the prophetic things about America possibly, and the pattern that seems to be there. And so a lot of things are all coming together at the same time.
Hello everyone, this is R.S. Miller at the endtimenews.org, and today is March 28th, 2013. Russia stages massive war games in the Black Sea. The Russian Navy in the Black Sea was ordered to conduct unscheduled drills early this morning. The naval training put in motion dozens of warships, military aircraft, and armored vehicles, and thousands of Marines. The drill started early in the morning when President Vladimir Putin, who was returning from Durban, South Africa, to Sochi aboard Air Force One, ordered Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu to alert the Black Sea Fleet as well as regional Air Force and troops. Shoigu opened an envelope delivered to him at 4 a.m. Moscow time and only then learned of the planned war games. The Russian naval drills came as a surprise not only to the Russian armed forces, but also to neighboring countries' militaries as well, which were forced to rub sleep from their eyes and rush to their duties as up to 30 Russian battleships left port. The battleships operating from the Russian naval base in Sevastopol in Crimea, Ukraine, were also alert. Defense Ministry Press Secretary Igor Konashenkov told Interfax that the drills engaged over 7,100 troops, around 250 armored vehicles, some 50 cannons, up to 20 fighter jets and helicopters, and about 30 various warships. The training partly involves air forces, rapid deployment paratrooper divisions, Marines, special forces of the intelligence service of Russia's General Staff, Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov said, adding that at least 3 airborne insertions are planned during the exercises. The drills in the Black Sea coincide with a huge long-range aviation exercise by the Russian Air Force. A range of strategic bombers, such as the supersonic Tu-160, Tu-95MC, Tu-22M3, Illusion flying tankers, A-50 AWACS aircraft, Su-27 fighter jets, and supersonic MiG-31 interceptors conducted over 60 missions at 3 ranges in various regions of the country. Now, according to GovCaval, the maneuver sends a hands-off warning on Syria from Moscow to the U.S. and NATO. Are you saved? Follow the link below and pray the prayer of salvation with a sincere heart, and you will be saved.
제3차 지하 핵시험은 조선인민의 첫정지 원수인 미국의 대조선 적대시정 체계에 대처한 단호하고도 정정당당한 자유적 조치입니다. 우리 당과 군대와 인민은 미국을 비롯한 적대 세력들의 횡포하고 무분별한 책동을 산산히 짚으시고 나라의 자주권과 지역의 평화와 안정을 수호하기 위하여 전면 대인전을 계속
something that appeared to be an airplane, but it had no red lights or no green lights signifying there was an airplane. So, and it was just like a big ball glowing.
What they saw was a meteor. You can't see the color too well in their home video, but it was glowing.
Orangish, yellowish, and maybe it had a little
Astronomers around the world are monitoring the future. Every day, new data arrives to refine the comet's orbit. As the error bars shrink, Yeomans expects a direct hit to be ruled out. The odds favor a flyby, not a collision, he says.
Well, Israeli elections are coming up, and don't worry, I won't bore you with any of the details, except for to mention that unlike other countries around us, we actually have elections. And when people don't like the results of those elections, don't worry, they will likely stay home and complain about it. We don't go to the streets and throw rocks and start shooting each other. But speaking of action in the streets, we recently had this epic storm, which I actually made a whole blog about. In the link below, you can check it out. This storm brought amazing flooding all over the country, and there's these incredible photographs of helicopters and trucks going into low-lying Arab villages and pulling people from their roofs. I know it's hard to believe that Israelis would actually rescue Arabs if you watch international news. But yes, the Israeli government values the lives of all of its citizens and residents, whether Jew or Arab. Give us an award, please. Unfortunately for nearby refugee camps of displaced Syrians, the massive flooding of their tents was not met with government help. However, the mass-murdering president of Syria, Assad, was feeling generous and has reportedly exchanged over 2,000 Syrian civilians from prison for 48 Iranians that have been held by the Syrian rebels. I can't imagine what kind of benefit 48 Iranians would be to Assad that he would feel so generous to release his own people back into freedom, except for that little gnawing rumor that he's using the Iranian Revolutionary Guard to fight against the Syrian rebels. The whole thing is kind of funny because when you realize that no win in Syria is going to benefit peace-loving civilizations around the world, it's hard to know who to root for. See, just think of Assad as Iran and the rebels as Al-Qaeda. So you either get the unelected Assad, who apparently has no problem gassing his own people, or you get the Sharia law-loving rebels. So I'm thinking to myself, can't all terrorists get along? The answer is in the ego. Yes, even in the darkest realms of evil, the devil cannot get along with his wife. And that is one of the reasons that the much anticipated Muslim caliphate, where all the Muslim nations unite to form this one giant empire that takes on the world, has not happened yet. And so as long as they're playing alpha dog, Israel can avoid a united attack against her. Take our closest friends, Hamas and Fatah. They really hate each other, and they can only unite in their mutual hatred towards Israel. However, they haven't really been able to accomplish hating us more than they hate each other, which is sad for the Palestinian Arab people that they rule over. However, it does limit their ability to destroy us or try to form their own state. However, you really have to appreciate the creativity that goes into this attempted process of creating a state of Palestine. For example, just this month, Mahmoud Abbas, who is the president of the Palestinian Authority, the guy that went to the UN to get this recognition of being this non-state member thing, he decides that he's going to change the name of the Palestinian Authority, which originally was the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, was then changed to the Palestinian Authority. He is going to change it to State of Palestine. So there isn't really a state yet, but he's going to call his government of sorts State of Palestine. So he is now the president of the State of Palestine, which doesn't really exist. And it kind of reminds me of a friend of mine who used to work for this fast food restaurant, and he said when he ordered beef for this restaurant, he had to be careful what company he was ordering from, because there were companies that would call themselves 100% beef, even though they made burgers with all these additives, but they would call the company 100% beef. So they could legally say, yes, you are ordering 100% beef, when in fact you are ordering a chemical soybean burger. So the next time you hear about Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the State of Palestine, just realize they meant 100% pretend Palestine.
Fulfill their dreams.